Disclaimer. The jokes and overall structure of this video are heavily experimental. The creator attempted to replicate a review style they were very fond of, and it was scripted as closely as possible to resemble as such. However, the execution and the final product may have fallen short of said goal. If this sympathy play worked for you, please view this with the knowledge that the publishing of this video took a lot of swallowing my own goddamn pride, because this may not be what I wanted it to be, but I still wanted to bring you content. For the sake of you, your loved ones, and all of mankind, do not try this at home. Fuck! Is the first thought that comes to mind whenever the game gets going. That intro attention grabbing enough for you? Alright, let's get into it. I know I started last week's review of Gungrave with a song, and I was torn on whether or not to do that again here and make starting off with songs an actual thing, but that might set expectations too high for me that A, I know what I'm doing, or that B, I'm good and or competent at it, so no song this time. Not that I didn't have one written, but I'm also not saying it's definitely good, it's probably still garbage, but just that there's not going to be a song this time. What are we doing? Oh, right, Evil West! Evil West is a video game. Thank you, that's all for this week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Okay, fine. I'm going to elaborate. Evil West is, in bold and italics, a video game. And what I mean by that is it's very simply just a video game. It doesn't peddle itself as anything more than a video game. It doesn't try to put its 2 cents in the "are video games art" argument, nor does it bleed you dry from the other side of the coin of games as a money-making product. Cough Fortnite, cough Diablo Immortal, cough Destiny, cough literally any live service game. I have a cough. Sorry. Evil West is a straightforward, not quite a third-person shooter, but also pretty much a third-person shooter, cowboy-themed Monster Hunter game. Not Capcom Monster Hunter, think Hugh Jackman Van Helsing Monster Hunter. You play as Jesse Rentier, even the game can't decide, and you work for the Rentier Institute, fuck it, I'm gonna call it the Order 18 Cowboy Times. Jesse is the son of the current leader of the Order, and Dad's got high expectations for you, son. But Dad, I'm a field agent, not a paper pusher. I don't care. You will inherit this order, so start acting like it. I will force this change if I have to. And pretty much the story is Jesse rising to the occasion to not be a goddamn disappointment to his boss dad, even though he's probably already the Order's best agent. Nothing like some artificial drama to push the plot. There's also this thing about highborn vampires, and the story as a whole is actually pretty compelling, if a little nothing to write home about-y. And with some pretty cool narrative beats too, which is fine because this is a video game first and foremost through and through, which means, at its core, its design is to make sure that at every possible moment, the player is having fun, and for the most part, it delivers. For a third-person shooter, it's got a very big focus on melee combat too, which does add a very good variety of mechanics to bounce around and utilize during combat against the vampires, or as the game very pretentiously likes to call them, the sanguisuge, or, less pretentiously, ticks. The developers Flying Wild Hog, and just try to say that name 10 times fast, Flying Wild Hog, Flying Wild Hog, Flying Wild Hog, Flying Wild Hog, fuck it, Airborne Pumbaa, said that they used God of War 2018 as inspiration for the game's combat, and it does show. Because while the third-person shooting is more than serviceable and honestly has a narrative purpose of highlighting Agent J's skill with his artillery, the interplay between it and the litany of melee option does resemble Kratos' combination of melee and long-range attacks with a Leviathan axe. And it's a rather flattering comparison, because while it's obviously not on par with the Best Dad Simulator 2018, Cowboy Daddy Issues vs. Vampires 2022 does emulate that combat satisfactorily enough, despite not hitting the same highs, because it adds its own unique twists to it. An additional highlight is that the game isn't very long, just over 10 hours, and it's the perfect length for it to not overstay its welcome, like a house guest who refuses to leave 2 weeks later and is now eating your dog's food because you stopped serving him lunch 2 days later. What the fuck is that metaphor? Oh, it's a simile, fuck! Now, to be completely objective, I will also point out some nitpicks that pick at my nit, which is not an actual expression. First off, using Jesse the Body Rentura's rifle also locks at enemies, and that auto-lock can get in the way of triggering environmental traps like TNTs, because moving the right stick works as a quick target swap during iron sights. Trying to blow up enemies this way becomes an argument between you and your analog stick, and that is one that you will not always win. Secondly, the game gives you like 7 billion combat mechanics to utilize, and it dumps most of them at you in the first few hours. That combat runs the risk of being more tedious than exciting after a while. Was tedious the word I was looking for? No, stagnate. Combat runs the risk of stagnating because most of your core mechanics are introduced way too closely to one another in the early game, which is not helped by the mid-tier amount of enemy variety, including level-concluding boss-type scenarios. And yes, I said boss-type scenarios because there's not always an actual boss fight. Lastly, the game's AA status becomes evident when you look at characters interacting in-game and none of their fucking mouths are moving. It's a small detail, but it can ruin immersion when you're talking to Uncle Badass or Dr. Lady Leader and their fully voiced dialogue isn't accompanied by animated mouths. Like I said, these are nitpicks, but they're ones worth noting. The TLDR of everything here is that Evil Dead 3 Army of Westness is a good game because it does away with a lot of modern gaming's worst traits while highlighting what makes video games great. It focuses on being fun without compromising that goal for any reason. So, do I recommend Evil West? Yes. Do I recommend getting invested in Evil West? Yes, sort of. Do I recommend doing cocaine? Absolutely not. And do I recommend Order 1886? Wait, what?